Ah, the joys of shopping in the modern grocery, an experience to share with the little ones you love. What parent could resist bringing a child to the Mini Maxi Mart, discovering a new and colorful world of merchandise, carefully displayed and awaiting the young customer's thoughtful examination? Each visit to the store brings new meaning to the phrase, supermarket sweep. Yes, it's a proud moment when your son or daughter boldly proclaims his or her purchasing preferences. Congratulations, Mom. This newfound assertiveness is just a taste of things to come.
Have you ever been there? I assure you that I have. In fact, I recently witnessed a similar situation when my wife and I made a quick trip to the supermarket to pick up a few items. And when we arrived, we immediately noticed a woman shopper and her 5-year-old boy that were engaged in this kind of clash of wills. He had apparently demanded that she buy something, and then he threw a classic temper tantrum when she refused. The conflict was still brewing when they reached the checkout counter where they were standing in line. Now, we were standing right behind them, and we were close enough to hear the conversation that was going on between them. And she leaned down to her son and spoke very quietly, and she said, "I was going to give you what you asked for, but there's no way I can do it now. We just don't reward that kind of behavior." But this little lad wasn't going to back off, and he continued to snort and complain. And that prompted his mom to say matter-of-factly, "Do you know what's going to happen when we get home?" "Yes," he said. "Well, what?" she asked him. "A SWAT," he said. "Yep, and if you keep acting like this, it'll be two." And I tell you, with that, the battle was over. Junior settled down and he behaved like a little gentleman. Now, believe me, I rarely interject myself into these kinds of parental episodes, but this was an exception. This woman deserved a word of praise. And so I said, "You're a good mother." And she said with a smile on her face, "Well, it isn't easy." And I knew she meant it. Now, let's see if we can help make it easier for others who are watching by trying to understand what was going on there. It is very important to distinguish between two categories of behavior that should be handled in entirely different ways. Maybe this will help explain the distinction. Suppose little Chris is acting silly in the living room and he falls into a table and he breaks some expensive china cups. Or maybe he loses his books on the way home from school, or he leaves his bike out in the rain, or he spills his milk while sitting at the breakfast table. Now, these are what I call acts of childish irresponsibility, which are just inevitable during the early years because kids are like that. They forget things, they lose things, they spill things, they fall off things, and they eat horrible things. This is just the nature of childhood. And when it happens, it should be handled very gently and with understanding. But there is another category of behavior that is far more problematic. For example, when a child stamps her little foot in anger and tells her mom or dad to shut up, or when a 3-year-old is called and then runs the other way. See, in those cases, something very different is going on. She's moved into the realm of what I call willful defiance. It occurs when the child knows what the parent wants, but she clenches her little fists and digs in her heels and prepares for a battle. Now, willful defiance occurs when the child clearly refuses to accept parental leadership. And when this kind of nose-to-nose confrontation occurs, a firm response is in order. Why? Because the question being asked is, who's in charge here? Now, if a parent equivocates at that moment, a strong-willed child, I guarantee you, will precipitate other battles designed to ask that same question again and again. That's just the way he or she thinks. So what about the little unpleasantness at the mini maxi mart? Was it childish irresponsibility or willful defiance? Let's look at the instant replay.
There's Mom coming down the field. Mom is saying something. It's a warning. That's right. Bobby has been warned not to get out of the cart. Let's look at the next play. Bobby makes the pitch. But Mom isn't biting. It's a definite no. Mom had called the plays, but Bobby wouldn't follow the game plan. And the referee makes the call, Wilful Defiance.
Well, the referee made the right call because it was willful defiance. Bobby was challenging the authority of his mom, and she needed to be strong because the behavior represented a direct confrontation with